Welcome to a very special youth edition of Teaching Peace. This series of conversations is developed in partnership with NYC Council of Mennonite Churches, Groundswell and Brooklyn Peace Center. And this episode is also brought to you in part by Radical Living, a youth organization in Brooklyn, New York.
We begin each episode by acknowledging the land upon which these organizations sit. We recognize that we are located in Lenape-Hoking, the ancestral and unceded territory of the Lenape people. We acknowledge the Lenape community, their elders, both past and present, as well as future generations. This acknowledgement is part of our ongoing work to dismantle the legacies of settler colonialism and white supremacy. On Teaching Peace, we engage in conversation with people engaged in the work of peace building.
My name is Elgin Storbakken. I'm a sixth grader from Brooklyn, New York, and a founding youth participant at Radical Living, an environmental justice youth program.
And my name is Chloe Storbakken. I am an eighth grader, also a lifelong Brooklynite, and founding youth participant at Radical Living. In this episode of Teaching Peace, we are in conversation with Madison Banks and Peony Walcott.
Madison and Peony are both part of the Mennonite Central Community Summer Service Leadership Program. Madison Banks is a college student at Baruch College and is serving this summer as a media consultant for the Groundswell Group, a nonprofit coalition that provides resources to communities. Peony Walcott is a college student at Babson College and is serving this summer as a program coordinator at Radical Living.
Madison Peony, welcome to Teaching Peace. We always start with this question. How do you define peace?
So from an internal perspective, peace is a really serene and calm feeling that you have within yourself. But amongst the community, I think it's mutual respect and boundaries and just a lot of harmony.
To follow up on what Madison said, I think peace is a very heavily internal thing. You have to make peace with yourself before you can make peace with other things. And I think a big part of making peace with things is understanding there are some things that you can and cannot control. So when you're making peace with your community, you have to understand that there are things that happen that are out of your hands, but there's also your reaction and what you can do moving forward and what you can make peace with whatever it has happened already and you can't control. You can kind of move forward and make peace with yourself as well.
Madison, tell us about the MCC Summer Service Leadership Program, and specifically about your work at Groundswell.
Yes, for sure. So the summer service is a 10-week program where MCC really teaches young adults how to hone in and develop any leadership qualities that we already have and just how to strengthen them essentially. And my work at Groundswell, which is a peace and justice resource center as a media consultant, is just making sure that we're consistently in communication with our virtual audience, that we're building a rapport with them and just letting them know all the things that we offer. So I can briefly talk about them. One of the first things is creating healthy culture, which is a curriculum that explores the intersection between spirituality and health and wellness. That specific curriculum offers meditation practices and reflections that will just help you be aware of God's presence in your life. The second one would be our Triple P Positive Parenting Program, which just provides parents with support when they're raising their kids because no one can do it alone. So if maybe you're just having a hard time implementing a bedtime routine, or you just want your kids to be more engaged in the community, this can definitely help you out. And the last one that I'll talk about would be WEPA, which is we engage in prevention awareness, which is dedicated to decreasing any risk factors that lead to substance misuse amongst youth in the Northwest Bronx. So on social media, we just do marketing campaigns that engage youth in alternative ways to like get that high off life. Thank you.
Peony, you've been part of Radical Living since you were a ninth grader, and now you're in college and spending your summer as program coordinator. Tell us about the work of Radical Living. Where do you do your work and what it looks like?
So now Radical Living is now in its 5th year of existence, and I've been there from the beginning. So I've seen a lot of growth over time. For the first 4 years of my time there, I was just a youth participant, but I did help out a lot since I was one of the older kids that continued to come. So now that we're in our 5th year and I am now program coordinator, I wear a very different hat. I do a lot of different things. One of the major things is meeting every week with everyone else who helps coordinate and creating programs for the youth for them to understand what environmental justice is. And one of our main ways of addressing environmental justice is teaching the kids how to plant food, and that's addressing food insecurity. So that's what we really try to hone in on throughout the summer every Saturday. And we try to engage the kids in their community in the Bed-Stuy, and kind of go see what other gardens there are around, what other programs there are in the community. We also try to venture out to the whole of Brooklyn because yes, Bed-Stuy is where we're rooted, but we would like them to know a lot more about the borough that they live in. And it doesn't just end there. We kind of like to take our trips outside of the city and let the kids see a whole different way of life and know that the fight isn't just in the city and it's not just us fighting. There's everybody fighting all over. So we want them to kind of see that perspective and be kind of inspired to do more.
Madison. Groundswell is a coalition that provides resources to congregations and communities. Tell us about the importance of collaboration in this work, and how does collaboration help to build peace?
That is a really good one. Collaboration is really important because there's just so much behind the scenes work that goes on that no one really sees. Like I can think about everyone involved in the coalition and how it has developed over time. I can think about Nigel Lawrence, who is our graphic designer. So anything that we want to be tangible, if it's a flyer, if it's a mask, if it's a template for social media, he gets that done. I think about Marissa, who is our WEPA social media manager. So if it's a meme, if it's like a prevention quote, she gets that on so we can engage with that part of the audience. I think of Philip Lynn, who was a co-writer of the Creating Healthy Culture curriculum. None of this would be possible without that synergy and collaboration. So that is huge.
Yeah. Peony, at Radical Living, we begin each day in a circle. What is the importance of this circle and what happens in this circle based on your experience?
So almost like what we were just talking about, kind of collaboration, connectedness, we come together as participants, older and younger, and we kind of get to just acknowledge the land for one, know that we were not the original inhabitants, and that what we do on this land does matter. And we get to kind of discuss like what our temperature is for the day or how we felt throughout the week, and really get in tune with where we're at in our headspace in the moment. And it also gives us the time to kind of address any issues that's going on in the world as well, especially keep it specific to environmental justice. As I said, that's what the program kind of hones in on. And we just kind of get to breathe, stretch, just kind of relax so we can start our program off right with the right energy before we get into all of our activities for the next 2 hours.
Madison, What is the role of social media in social change? What platforms do you use?
Hmm. Well, social media has a huge role in social change because our generation, which is millennials and Gen Zers, we are really synonymous with technology. Like we use it every day. TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat. That's how we communicate and engage with one another. So when there's an issue that we want to be able to make a difference and tap into, we can go to social media for that. Even if it's something as simple as looking up a hashtag. I know for different protests, you can go on social media for that. You can connect with people who have causes that are similar to yours. So that is really, really great. And it's changed everything in this decade.
Peony, Radical Living works to address issues related to environmental justice. What is environmental justice? And how does
So,
race and economic status impact environment?
okay, so environmental justice is about the fair treatment of all people. It's about equity, because in order for us to all be equal, we have to acknowledge the fact that we do not all get the same resources, or we're not getting the same opportunity in order to be quote unquote seen as equals. So we're trying to be an equitable world. And with race and economic factors, with your race, there's just certain things, there's certain viewpoints that are geared towards your race that are either an advantage or a disadvantage to you. And as I was mentioning equity previously, that is going to kind of impact where you kind of stand in terms of being seen as equal. And the same thing works for economic factors as well. The less you have in terms of money, the more you're worried about essential things, just like living, breathing, eating, clothing, shelter. So you kind of don't get to focus on anything else outside of that. So we kind of want to get to that point that no matter where you are on the spectrum in terms of having money, rich and or poor, and anybody in between, you can still get the same opportunities, the same access to anything that anybody with money would have. So that's what we're trying to address, and that's what environmental justice as a whole is trying to address.
Madison, you were raised in a Mennonite community in the Bronx, King of Glory Tabernacle. In fact, your grandpa Michael Banks ordained my dad for ministry more than 10 years ago. What have you learned about peacemaking growing up Mennonite?
Ooh, that is good too. Definitely, you cannot be afraid to be vulnerable. I think that was a huge value in my family. Like, no shame, no hiding. If there's an issue, let's talk it out. I can actually remember a specific time when I was things were a little rocky between my mom and my dad, and my grandmother and my grandfather, they had us do a circle process in which we're talking about everything, and I have to kind of mirror my parents' perspective. And so they tell me how they feel, and I have to be able to repeat back to them, okay, this is what I'm getting from what you're telling me. And it was really scary at first, but I had a powerful realization. My parents are people too. They went through things. They had their own past, their own trauma. And I have to be able to understand that when I interact with them and still always maintain respect and peace in the household. So definitely that, not being afraid to be vulnerable, constant communication. Those are two huge values and contribute to keeping the peace.
Peony, you live near Radical Living's program site, and your younger sister, Paisley, has been part of Radical Living since we started. And this year, your youngest brother, Prince, joined us. What is the importance of community in your work? And how has participating in Radical Living with your siblings shaped your experience?
So the importance of community, start there. There would be no program without our community. There would be no purpose if we weren't doing it for the community. Not just doing it because it's something that we're going to check off in a box in a couple years to say we just did it. We need to start in our community so our community can work towards whatever they need to do in order to contribute to get into a point of justice, just justice in general, in terms of environment or criminal, whatever facet of justice they may need to address. And the only way we're going to be able to do that is if we bring them in and we work with them firsthand and give them that opportunity to work to, in our case, grow their own food and know that that is a thing. Like, you don't have to go to the nearest McDonald's, Burger King, or whatever the case may be to fulfill your food desires. You can grow fresh food in the city. So there's that importance of community, and my family is part of my community. So if I'm going to do this work, I don't need to be doing it alone in my household. My younger siblings are the generations after me, and it's important that they get that in as early as possible so they have some, like, it's a legacy, and it's something for them to carry on and teach their children as well. Not only their children, their friends, it's just something they could talk about, something they can consider. And doing it young is important because then it's ingrained, it's instilled. Just like we were mentioning Madison's values in terms of Mennonite, those are things you learn young, something you learn early, and it's something you just carry into the rest of your life. So working with my siblings, as hard as it can be at times, it is impactful, and not just my household, but also for the greater community that I was speaking about before.
Madison and Peony, what have you learned about leadership and peace building through your work with Groundswell and Radical Living?
So I've definitely learned being a leader, you have to be a self-starter. You have to be innovative and just not afraid. You can't I had a problem with procrastinating because I was afraid. I didn't know how things would turn out. But this program and even working with Groundswell, being surrounded by a community, has just taught me, okay, it's okay. Even if you are afraid, do it anyway. Take that first step. It's definitely taught me being a leader is about being able to adapt. Maybe you have to change the plan, but you always keep that essential goal in mind. So being able to just roll with the punches, even if something goes wrong within a program, within your day, your schedule, something as small as that, you can always look up to God, center yourself, and just know that you can get it done either way.
And as Madison was mentioning peace, it brought me back to the initial question that I can't even remember right now, but we were talking about peace. And like I said, you have to be at peace with yourself, understand there's certain things you can't control. So like you said, something bad can happen in your day, probably was out of your control, and you don't want that to kind of impact how you move forward. You have to kind of be able to pivot. So with working with Radical Living this year behind the scenes, you can plan all day. We can make the plans in advance as early as you can, and things are going to change at any point in time, and you have to be ready for that. Another thing is the reaction of the youth or the parents or the community that we're working with. There's no guarantee on who will show up. There's no guarantee on it. They will enjoy the programming, and those are things that, if you're not at peace with yourself, you're going to be very disappointed, very hard on yourself. And it's like, you can only do the best that you can do. You put your best foot forward, and whatever happens, happens. People get to react how they choose to. And you just hope that whether it was not the best experience or not, that they could take something away from it and learn. And me as well, like, when we do have programs, what went well didn't go well. And that's how we were able to grow in the last 5 years. So, making peace with yourself, making peace with what you can and cannot control, that's just something that you kind of learn in anywhere you're going to go, but especially with my time here, especially in the last summer that I've been working with them, I definitely learned that, you're going to have to roll with the punches and just keep it going.
Yeah, definitely. A final question for both of you. Why are you invested in this work?
Well, I knew I had no choice but to be invested in this work when I look back and think about how selfish I was in the past. And you have to think about stuff like that, because this type of work is looking beyond you. It's looking 5 generations ahead and saying, how can I make an impact? How can we make an impact and a difference in the community now to just leave it better for the people who are going to come after us? So that has been, that's been a huge realization. Just, this is so much bigger than me. And how can I help build capacity in someone else's community and in their organization? So, yeah.
So on that note, I have to start at the fact that I am a business major, and the overarching idea of business is profit, profit, profit. Businesses need to make profit. And before college, I didn't really think too hard about what exactly I wanted to do in business or what a business does outside of making profit. Like, everything is always about numbers. It wasn't until I got to college and I realized just how selfish people can be, and that the numbers are everything to them. And the thing about numbers is there's always going to be people behind numbers. You don't just get numbers from thin air. People made numbers. So for people to think that numbers are separate from people is a bizarre concept to me, but that's how people look at it. So during my time in college, I've taken multiple classes about ethics and environment and the environment in general, because I believe that we need to work on whatever systems we have currently and to make them better. And we're so, it's nice that we're into space travel and trying to explore other worlds. And I believe that's a very important part of what we need to do. But I find it concerning that we're so adamant about going elsewhere, and we haven't been taking care of the earth that we live on, and it's not even guaranteed to be with us forever. So a lot of course, with radical living, I'm addressing environmental justice and food insecurity, which on a social level is important, but on a very basic grand scheme level of just earth and being here, it makes all the difference in saying, what can we do to do better? Like, we've already done our damage for generations to come. Why are we still contributing to damaging our earth? So as a business major, that's something I don't want to just address in my community. I want to be able to take that back into whatever facet of business I decide to go into, and make sure that businesses are upholding their responsibility to address environmental issues, to address any damaging issues, whether it be social or environmental, in order to create a better space for us moving forward. Because yes, it is about profit. To say it's not is a lie, but it's not only profit, and people matter. That's how we sustain, that's how we get the profit. So that's, as a business major, it dawns on me a lot that it is an important thing to address. And of course, I'm going to start in my community, but I would like to, in my career path, be able to address that and address it outside in my personal life for the rest of my days here.
We had a beautiful conversation. We like to finish on a personal note. Let's do a writing round on either or, so that we can learn a bit about Peony and Madison. On time, early, or late?
Before the program, late, but now definitely on time, and I'm working towards early.
Yeah, they say early is on time, which is a good motto in life. And I would like to say I try to strive for that, but I'm definitely, if anything, an on time kind of person. No CPT over here.
Tea or coffee?
Tea.
Coffee with coconut milk.
Or tea. I think coffee is
Yes.
It's a really crazy stimulant, almost like it is a drug, but you know, not the too harmful drug. I'm more of a tea person. I like to be more serene and calm.
Drama or comedy?
Drama.
Oh, comedy, but a person makes it drama. Sometimes just the little extra drama is like, okay, this makes it even funnier.
Ocean or mountains?
Ocean.
The only reason why I would say ocean is because I like the beach and I like the idea of the ocean, but the ocean is a very scary place. Mountains, if I like, because I do like the idea of mountain climbing in my life, so I probably enjoy that too. So kind of in the middle, but for right now, ocean.
Big party or small gathering?
I say big party. I'll talk all day, dance, do the robot. It's all of it. Big party.
So I like smaller, intimate gatherings, but if the big party is full of people that I'm comfortable with, then I am all here for a big party.
Sweet or salty?
Sweet, everything sweet, even sweet meats, teriyaki chicken, boneless spare rib tips with extra barbecue sauce. I put sugar on my spaghetti, sweet.
Ooh, okay. I'd be lying if I didn't say sweet, but I have this really bad thing where I need to have a balance. Like my taste buds can taste when I'm off balance. So I need to have a nice balance of sweet and salty. And if I'm feeling I'm too sweet, I'm definitely gonna eat something salty and vice versa. And then if I'm feeling overstimulated, I'm just gonna drink water to cleanse my palate. So
Instagram or TikTok?
what was the first one?
Instagram or TikTok?
Instagram, all the way.
Instagram, for sure.
Singing or dancing?
You said singing or dancing?
Singing or dancing?
I'm a dancer at heart. At the core of me, I'm a dancer. But I love a karaoke session too.
That is so funny. That is so funny because I'm a singer at heart, but I love dancing, even if it's that good.
Really both, honestly, both in a perfect world. So I go both, but if I'm gonna do something first, it's probably dancing.
Madison and Peony, thank you for this meaningful conversation. And thank you to all who tuned in for this conversation. If you want to hear more of these conversations, whether you're listening on a podcast or YouTube, remember to like, subscribe, and click the share button. And
again,
Yes.
thank you for joining us for Teaching Peace.